Aloha! Welcome to the Live Ukulele podcast. My name is Brad Bordessa. Thank you for tuning in today. This is going to be a fun episode. I teased it a little bit on the last After Hours podcast, but I have a new ukulele, and this is the episode where I talk about it, share about it, and reveal what its identity is. This episode is brought to you by Ukelogic Strings. Joel over at Hawaii Music Supply, he's been a setup guy for a long time, seen a lot of ukuleles, and has put together some strings that he feels are best suited to the instruments that he always works on. And I've been playing them for a number of years now. They're super great. Want to give a big shout out to Joel. He always hooks me up with the strings, so I'm happy to always send people his way. If you're looking for a string that has the brightness of the fluorocarbon, something like Worth or Oasis, but you want a little more meat, then the Ukelogics are a great choice. He's still kind of working out the kinks in the whole thing, and it's a limited gauge option, so there's only like heavy and light for high G and low G. But if you reach out to him, he can help you design something that's kind of to your needs. If you have a certain something you're trying to do, I have a kind of a custom set that he always sends me that has a little bit lighter C string, because I don't like his heavy C is a little too heavy for the sound that I'm looking for. Ukelogic strings, they're available on the ukulele site and on Etsy, I believe. Check them out. Little bit of aloha kamanini for you folks. This is a Bettah ukulele, of course. I've known Chuck for a long time, become very good friends over the years, and I was not so much in need of an ukulele, but thinking of kind of a hole in my stable of ukuleles. I don't really have that many working instruments that I use or care about a whole lot. I have my main Bettah tenor that I've been playing for the past almost 10 years. I have an old kamaka that has super worn out frets. I put like a lot of my practice time on that kamaka, and it's just kind of can't really go very well anymore. I've got my Blackbird Farallon, which I take to rowdy gigs or places where it might rain. And that's pretty much it. I've got a couple other things that are like specialty, like my outdoor ukulele that lives in the car or goes on the plane with me when I'm just traveling casually. I've got a U-bass just recently and the baritone Pono solid body. But those are kind of specific things that I don't use all the time. As far as main instruments go, I really only have that I use out and about are the Blackbird and the Bettah with the cutaway. The Bettah with the cutaway is a fantastic instrument. It's been my favorite for the past 10 years, and it's treated me super well. It sounds amazing plugged in. It's a super good kind of utility ukulele that just does everything well. It's easy to play. It's always been super great to me. But when you put it in front of a microphone, I've noticed in the past year or so when I've kind of been getting a little bit more into recording, hopefully gearing up for another recording project. I keep telling myself that, but it's hopefully coming down the pipes. I want to do a Hawaiian album and start collecting songs and thinking about how to arrange things and record them. And sort of in preparation for that, I've been realizing that the sound of the spruce top Bettah that I have been playing, it just has a weird harshness in the high end that doesn't translate onto the mic very well. It sounds really nice in the room, but just somehow about the way the sound waves travel out of the ukulele and into the microphone, it really wasn't doing what I wanted to be able to capture. I always felt like I was able to put even a worse mic in front of my kamaka and sort of get the sound easier than anything I put in front of the spruce top. And so I thought, well, maybe I just need like more of a traditional ukulele that isn't kind of cutting edge with the fast attack spruce top and the cutaway or anything. Maybe I just need some sort of a simple instrument. And I kind of thought about just getting like an old, like a stock kamaka or a stock koloha or whatever. And just kind of realized that those options were probably, none of them really fit what I was used to in an instrument. I'm super spoiled playing Chuck's ukulele for all of these years. It has kind of a specific feel and a specific weight to it. It's light. I know kanileas are light, but I don't really want to get into the kanilea ecosystem. Just personally, it's kind of not my ukulele. I don't relate really to the instruments they build. And so I mentioned all of this to Chuck in an email a number of months ago, and was like, hey, I have kind of this thought that like I'm thinking about another instrument. Would you be at all open to building for me again? And he said, yeah, I would. Next time I start a new batch, maybe you can come down and you can play all of them and see if any of them speak to you. And, that's the best possible thing you could ask for, right? Is the chance to go play a batch, not just one, but a whole batch of Chuck's new ukuleles that are just out of the workshop. And so I said, yes, of course, that sounds super. So he worked on those. I went on my little tour thing to Washington and came back and, waited a week so I didn't end up bringing COVID to Chuck or anything like that. And then went down and Chuck had this one ukulele left. That was this ukulele I came home with. It is the Big Island Kalo ukulele, number 2116. I don't know honestly how Chuck numbers his ukuleles. I feel like maybe he hasn't quite built 2000. Seems like a lot. But it is absolutely wonderful. It's very, very different from other instruments I've played, just from the sense that I think it's such a kind of magical instrument that it seems weird. It's like so far out of the ballpark of what you might be used to with an ukulele that it's like, whoa, this ukulele is weird. But it's not weird bad. It's weird like, wow, this is so good. And so the first thing that makes this ukulele super special is that it was built by Chuck, and Chuck, he likes his surprises and he likes to spoil me, and he had me in mind when he was building this ukulele. I didn't think that was going to be as much the case as he kind of made his offer, like, oh, you come down and check them out and play them. But he really did put a lot of thought into this instrument, and it's very sweet. And the headstock, the Big Island Kalo, is a kalo plant growing out of the Big Island, as if the Big Island was the corm. And for those of you who really pay attention to what I do, I'm kind of a farming enthusiast, not so much a farmer, but I like to plant things, and I really love kalo. And the fact that Chuck thought to put this on the headstock was just wonderful. And it makes me smile to think about it and to look at it. But to kind of put the cherry on top, it's made of ulu wood, top, back, sides. Ulu, which is the breadfruit tree, which across Polynesia is a food tree. The breadfruit tree produces 6 to 8, 10, sometimes even 12 would be super big, maybe up to 10 inches, oval egg-shaped fruit that once you cook them, it tastes kind of like bread. And it's a really high nutrient starch, which is why, like, if you compare it to, it does anything a potato will do, breadfruit will do better and probably taste better and be way better for you just because of the nutrients that's in it. So it was really a staple food of the Hawaiian people, but also many people across Polynesia. So this is not a tree that you just cut down because you want to build an instrument. It's a prized possession to have an ulu tree in your yard. So getting the wood is next to impossible, but I guess Chuck had a hookup and had enough sitting around for an ukulele, and he thought that this might tick the boxes that I was looking for kind of sound-wise, but also that it was, again, kind of personal for me and for my lifestyle, and just having that connection to Hawaiian food. And so it's really special. This wood is like very, very, very rare, and it's kind of magic. Real rich. Chuck said he thinks it sounds somewhere between koa and cedar. I don't have enough familiarity with tone woods to really speak to that, but I know that it's alive. It just feels alive in the hands, and it's just really kind of creamy and rich, and it's got kind of that woody sound, the honky koa mid-rangey sound that I always liked about when I would record my kamaka, and was a little lacking with the spruce top. So this ulu ukulele is trimmed out with pheasant wood on the fretboard and the bridge and the facing of the headstock. It has a little bit of koa binding just on the top and back edges is koa, and then it's got green kind of highlights all the way around in Chuck's famous style that match the green dyed kalo inlay on the headstock. And so it's absolutely beautiful. But, you know, aside from the beauty that Chuck builds into his instruments, he's really reached a very high level of instrument building in addition to the artistic side of things, because this instrument is really, really resonant. It's really light. It's really light without feeling like it was built super light. It just kind of has an inherent like cuddliness to it. And when you play it, you can feel it's really resonant, just vibrating against your body. And actually one of the things that I noticed right away is that as you play the instrument, it kind of has a couple of different modes, because the top and the back are very greatly connected with how much of your body is touching the back. So if I'm kind of hugging the ukulele, it has a little bit more of a closed sound. But as soon as you take it off of your body, it has more of that open low end and the real rich warmth. And it's quieter too. And most instruments do this, just not to such a degree. So when I first picked this up, it was that was the obvious thing that I noticed. It's like, whoa, it's really how much of my body I place on the back really affects how it sounds, just because it resonates so much. So this is because of what I'm planning on doing with this instrument, which is mainly recording and playing at the house. It doesn't have a pickup, doesn't have strap buttons. I'm not planning on taking it anywhere for those kinds of things. It would only go to another studio where I'd be recording. And so it's kind of a sit down ukulele, right? You're in the studio, you want to not move around a whole lot. So you sit yourself down in a chair and you place the mic so that the mic can be consistent. It's quite a different sort of a performance than being on stage. And so because of that, I think that if I was trying to get the same rich recording standing up, I might struggle because the ukulele would be more flat against my body. But whereas when you're sitting down, it has that little bit of the angle, which allows the back to resonate more and bring out that big sound. So I'll play one of the Queen songs. I just love how big and warm this arrangement is. I'd play it in A, which is kind of a weird ukulele key, but it just really works. And especially on this ukulele, it just kind of really sings. It's called Sanoi. It sounds so big in the room. I have yet to really sit down and figure out how to mic it to capture that. Right now, I just have kind of a bare bones KM184, and the spot that I know usually sounds pretty good for most ukuleles. It's probably not the best recording I can capture, but that will be kind of part of the experience of getting to know this instrument and figuring out where to put the mics, how many mics to put, that kind of a thing. Because in the past, I've done just DI and this Neumann, and it's been fine. It's been okay. But with this ukulele, I don't have the pickup output. I have more inputs now. I've got the preamp and a different mic that I'll really want to try out for the ukulele. And I just, the sky is the limit at this point, and I'm really looking forward to the results that this is going to net. So a couple other kind of distinguishing things of the ukulele is the string through bridge, which is the one where you put the string, you take the old string out, put the new string in downwards through the hole, fish the string out the sound hole, slide a bead on because you don't want the knot pulling against the top, tie a knot, and then you pull it all back up tight. And then you have your string attached at the bridge. You bring it up to the headstock. And so the first time I changed strings, I was kind of freaking out because I broke a bunch of A's trying to get it to work. But I think it was because the bead that Chuck had in there was kind of sharp, and it was like cutting through the string as it came up to tension, and just was cutting the knot right off of the string. So I went to Ace the other day and got some nice green matching beads that no one will ever see except for me, but that have a little bit more of a flat edge where the string goes through the hole. And I think those seem to have worked really nice. I changed the bead that was breaking all of the strings, and that seemed to fix the problem right away. But I wanted to get a kind of a complete set of beads, even though they're just like super cheap, nothing fancy beads. I asked Chuck about whether the beads could make a difference in the sound of having like steel beads or something would be better than the plastic, but he kind of dodged the question or forgot to answer it. We'll see. That might be something to try in the future, is trying to find some stainless steel beads. I don't know if it's good to add more mass to the top in that area because I don't build ukuleles, but Chuck put a plastic bead in there, so I put more plastic beads in there, and so far so good. It also has planetary Goto tuners, which are not my favorite. That's probably my biggest gripe, if I had to have a gripe with this instrument. And just because getting the strings tuned is a little bit more tricky. And I imagine if you struggled with motor function, it would be hard for you to tune the instrument to an accurate place where, you might be able to hold your chords and strum. That might be fine, but trying to precisely adjust these planetary tuners, it's, I don't know. In my head, I want to say 3-1 or 4-1, which is not much compared to the angle tuners, where you have the gear in the back and the ears stick out the side. But I know why Chuck does this. It's so that it looks clean and can highlight the artwork on the headstock. But they seem to be fine. They were a little bit loose when I first tried to replace the strings, and I had to tighten them up, but that's just a little screwdriver adjustment, and so far it seems like they're holding fine. They certainly look nice and sleek. The whole time I'm talking into the microphone, I'm like looking away at the ukulele as I'm holding it. It's just nice to look at. But I met Chuck back in 2007, I think. He came to Kiyoki Kahumoku's workshop in Pahala, and he did a ukulele building demonstration. He brought some of his tools and his jigs and his side bender and stuff like that, and he set it up on a table, and he kind of talked people through how he builds ukuleles, which I don't know if it's changed a whole lot, but his skill has certainly improved, because I know he had the flame ukulele that he had done at the time, which was like, it was like two different kinds of wood that he had cut the flame out of on one, and then the inverse pattern on the other, and patched them together. And that flame ukulele, he might even have it at the house, I'm not sure. But it was like notoriously heavy, and kind of kind of the era where Chuck was learning to build ukuleles, just as I was learning to play ukuleles. And it was kind of fun. We just hit it off. I mean, we got quite an age difference between us, but it's never, yeah, I don't know. I've embarrassed him, but I've always told my folks that it's felt like Chuck was kind of always my Albus Dumbledore figure, just kind of like that somebody. That's a Harry Potter reference for those of you who aren't familiar, but just somebody who is kind of, that much further down the road of life, and has some wisdom, and has all these awesome skills that might as well be magic as far as I'm concerned. But it's been just a delightful relationship over the years, and I'm so grateful for Chuck, and so grateful that this ukulele came to be, and that Chuck put so much thought into making it what it is, because it really is a very personalized instrument. It might not have my name on the fretboard or whatever, but it feels much more personal than the other ukulele, really, which does have my initials on it, because this one is just like, it's kind of me. And that's what Chuck said. It's like, that instrument, it's you. And so I really do feel that. And thank you so much, Chuck. Really appreciate you and your craft. And more than anything, I'm just grateful for our friendship over all of the years. So this is a song that Chuck actually named. I played it for him before I knew what the name was, and he came up with the name, The Jig Is Up, which is very fitting for a woodworker. This ukulele is really unforgiving, just because it sounds so nice and everything comes through so true. Chuck was talking about how he pointed out how all of the notes are very separated. It's very kind of distinguished when you play a chord. It's like everything is right there. It's not muddled at all. It's not. I mean, it works together beautifully, but it's also, the notes are very distinct, and you can kind of hear all of them separately. And it's beautiful to play, but it also means that when you goof up, it's not very forgiving, and there's not anything to hide behind. You really have to kind of bring your A game, or else it all is very apparent when you're making mistakes. So made a couple goobers there, but that's the gist of The Jig Is Up. That's on my If Only album, one of a couple instrumentals on there. So I'm not sure what I can share other than another song with this instrument. You will be seeing this in future videos that I make because it's a nice plain design that'll be easy for folks to kind of see where I'm at on the instrument and have a nice visual reference. There's nothing inlaid on the fretboard. It's just dots. So you can count and figure out where you're at without wondering, oh, what does that represent? Where is that? If you want to snoop a little bit, you can look on Chuck's Facebook page. He posted up some pictures of this a week or so ago. And at some point, I'll probably make a page kind of detailing the story of this and throw up some pictures. But yeah, happy to introduce you folks to Big Island Kalo ukulele. Big Island Kalo. It's a very descriptive name. We'll have to see. I don't know if Chuck does ukulele names or not. Like beyond just naming the artwork that's on them. Aloha no ai ai kalani a oko oi ai o he he molele hoi he he molele hoi ko unoho mihi ana apaha o ia o e kulama ko nani ko nani ko Mainana ino ino na heva o kanaka akae hui kala ama ema eno ama ema eno no laila e kahaku malalo o ko eheu koma luhia ama uloa kuno ama uloa kuno ama uloa kuno Thank you so much for joining me on this introduction ride. Mahalo nui again to Chuck and to Bonnie, of course, for this beautiful instrument, for their lovely friendship, and always their lovely hospitality every time I go down to visit them. Love you guys very much. This is going to be the second to last episode of the season. Gonna do one more. I have yet to figure out what it's about. We'll do one more and then take a break in November and December. Just kind of rest a little bit, catch up, brainstorm some new ideas for January, and then we'll kick things off again the first Saturday of the new year. As always, if you like what you hear, please subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. It helps with the visibility, lets people know that, hey, this is worth listening to. I hope it's worth listening to. That's why you're here, right? You made it to the end. Want to invite you to go check out liveukulele.com. I recently reworked the lesson index that you can find in the top menu. You click on lessons, it will take you to a page where I've kind of hit all of the main subjects you can learn about on Live Ukulele. There are, of course, more lessons than are shown there, but that'll point you to the main sections that you can find more lessons regarding your interests. Please go poke around, see what I have on offer there. It's also the home of my premium video courses and ebooks. If you want to support financially what I do, those are great ways to do that, and you get a fabulous ukulele learning product to boot. That sounds very Canadian of me, to boot. So until next time, be well out there, take care of one another, and keep on playing music and feeding your souls. See you next time. Aloha.